if and whenever you're watching this. If it's not morning for you, it is for me. Hey. Uh, Continuing in the book of Isaiah, chapter 5. Chapter 4 was deceptively brief and somewhat easy to grasp. Chapter 5 was nothing like its predecessor, uh, King James Version, as is my wont. Uh, Not to sound conceited or vain or like a know it all, uh, I had to do a lot of reference to the dictionary and to history and, well, let's just call it Google. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. I use Google. Uh, that being said, I did take some notes. But anyway, Isaiah 5 starts with a parable. In fact, a song. So, chapter 5, verse 1. Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved hath a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it, and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. Wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem, and men of Judah, Jewish nation, Israel, I suppose you could say, the ancient Israel, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes. Wild grapes. When grapes were requested, wild grapes were brought forth. That's interesting. And a great parable, I was going to say metaphor, but I suppose it's more appropriate to say parable. And that's probably why it does. Uh, but that's not even the complexities that, the beginning of the complexities. Uh, verse 5, and now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. And I will lay it to waste. Pardon the hard S there. It shall not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold oppression, for righteousness, but behold a cry. Woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. In mine ears, said the Lord of hosts, of a truth many houses shall be desolate, even great and fair, without inhabitant. Yea, 10 acres of vineyard shall yield one bath, and the seed of an omer shall yield an ephah. And that's where the confusion started for me. Uh, to start with, I mean, we all kind of know what an acre is. Uh, I believe the modern definition of an acre is something like 200 square feet. Uh, but that wasn't always the case. In fact, an acre It's equivalent to the amount of field that one yoke of oxen could plow in a single day. So 10 acres would be, 10 yokes of oxen. What is a yoke? Well, I didn't go that far. The idea is a large area of vineyard shall yield one bath, which actually a bath is apparently a measure of liquid, approximately 6 to 9 gallons. In other words, very little was yielded from a great field. And then to continue with the words, I had no idea their definition. And the seed of an omer, or homer, it's an H, shall yield an ephah, or ephah. I'm not sure what that word means, or wasn't sure. But basically a homer is considered an omer to be about 6 to 10 bushels of seed. And the crop that yielded is about a tenth of that. An ephah is a very poor crop. Which means, and not a lot of people recognize this, so pardon me for being a know-it-all in this respect, decimate does not mean to destroy. To decimate something means to reduce it to a tenth. Destroy all of it a tenth of. So if the population is decimated, they're reduced by 90%. I mean, that's the literal, that's, the root, decimal system, 10, and so on and so on. So 10 acres of vineyard shall yield one bath, which is presumably what 1 acre should have yielded. In any case, moving along, verse 11. Woe unto them, good morning everybody, by the way. Woe unto them that, I've already read that one. That's the homer shall yield an ephah. Oh no. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink, that continue until night, till wine inflame them. And the harp and the viol, the tabret and pipe, and wine are in their feasts, but they regard not the work of the Lord, neither consider the operation of his hands. Therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory, and their multitude, and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. And the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled, but the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and God that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. Then shall the lambs feed after their manner, and the waste places of the fat ones shall strangers eat. I know the King James language, it is what it is. Can sound dry and boring and put you to sleep, and that's probably why I neglected the Bible so much of my younger years. Well, greedily reading everything else, mind you. But I mean, we can ascertain that the mighty, the powerful, the rich will be brought down. It's kind of the Cliff Notes version of that bit. Then shall the lambs feed after their manner, and the waste places of the fat ones shall strangers eat. That's interesting that the word lambs is used there. Because lambs are considered to be pure and holy, innocent, and so on, i.e., Lamb of God. Anyway, verse 18. Woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and sin as it were with a cart rope, that say, Let him make speed and hasten his work, that we may see it, and let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw nigh and come, that we may know it. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, and put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, which is just another way of saying, or an elaborate way of saying, woe unto them that get it backwards. Call evil good, put darkness for light, bitter for sweet. Not hard to gather the meaning of that little passage. Verse 21, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for reward, and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. Therefore as the fire devoureth the stubble, and the flame consumeth the chaff, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust, because they have cast away the law of the Lord of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. So, that was verse 24. It started out with a parable of a vineyard that was well taken care of, given everything it needed. The stones were taken out of it. It's put on fertile ground. It's fenced out, to keep, as in the parable, to keep animals from eating it and defiling it. And it brought forth fruit, but they were wild grapes, not grapes. They were wild grapes. Not what God wanted. Because we have free will. And I don't know, my opinion on free will. It's certainly a good thing to have, but it's also a dangerous thing for us to have. But we started with a parable, and then we started with basically a pointing out of the iniquity and what's a good word for it? The rebellion against God, disobedience, dishonor. As God our Father, or as anybody's father, they should honor him, even if they don't understand. And plenty of people will argue that point, but certainly there are bad fathers out there, but even still, we're told to honor them. Anyway, let's conclude the chapter, because this is where it really got interesting for me. Verse 25, therefore is the anger of the Lord kindled against his people, and he hath stretched forth his hand against them, and hath smitten them, and the hills did tremble, and their carcasses were torn in the midst of the streets. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. And he will lift up an ensign to the nations from far, and will hiss unto them from the end of the earth. And behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. Now, ensign also demanded further analysis, because an ensign can be many things, but traditionally it didn't mean like a private in the army, a new recruit or new enlisted man or officer, I believe. It was actually a battle standard. And I believe that would be the context here, that the Lord will lift up a standard to the nations from far and will call them to come and destroy. I don't want to be too controversial because this is going to sound, I mean, the whole thing would sound at face value anti-Semitic because of all the mention of Israel and how horrible Israel people are in the Bible here, which is around 700 BC. So don't shoot the messenger, please. Anyway, he will lift up an incense in the nations far, and will hasten to them from the end of the earth, and behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. None shall be weary nor stumble among them, none shall slumber nor sleep, neither shall the girdle of their loins be loose, nor the latchet of their shoes be broken, whose arrows are sharp, and all their bows bent. Their horses' hoofs shall be counted like flint, which is to say they will be sparking, and their wheels like a whirlwind. Their roaring shall be like a lion, they shall roar like young lions, yea, they shall roar, and lay hold of the prey, and shall carry it away safe, and none shall deliver it. And in that day they shall roar against them like the roaring of the sea. And if one look unto the land, behold, darkness and sorrow, and the light is darkened in the heavens thereof. What a dark note to end a chapter on. So this got my curiosity going about the timelines here. Especially as it pertained to the book of Daniel, which we did do previously, God Hour, and also on Real Life Study Group. And it's less than 100 years after the book of Isaiah that this first Babylonian captivity took place. So this prophecy was fulfilled in very quick order, not only once but several times, and it will ultimately be fulfilled a final time. And that's what worries me about the state of the world, because we're repeating these same errors that the ancient Jewish people did, because we were grafted into, as Christians, we were grafted into the tree that is Judaism, so that we might all be saved, not just God's chosen people, the Israelites, the Jews, the house of Judah, however you want to refer to them, but offered salvation through Christ. Now, I'm not a biblical scholar. I'm just a guy reading from the book, trying to figure things out. Erica, I was reading Isaiah chapter 5, and I agree, it's kind of confusing, the language. I thought I had passed. Or you thought I had passed? By the way, hello, Rick. I'm in a small town in Alabama. And yeah, I do have a country accent. Sometimes I try to hide it so I don't sound so ignorant. People stereotype you. It is what it is. And probably everybody in my town is Christian, or at least say they are. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna like point any fingers, but we've got our bad actors. But all in all, it's a close-knit community. Pretty much know everybody that comes in the shop here. Uh, so we don't have a lot of like violent crime. It's just DUIs and drug crimes and things like that, which are rarely violent. I think the biggest crime headline I saw was a pound of marijuana seized, along with a few prescription pills. Like that's headline news around here. Somebody had a pound of marijuana, which would be completely legal in a lot of states. But Alabama is, for all of its problems, stuck in the past, and I like that about it. We hold on to traditional values. We don't even have a state lottery. How about yourself? I've seen you in here a few times, Rick. I'm going to go back to the chat a little bit because I don't usually look at it while I'm doing the scripture portion. Love black boys, gay boys. Does one exclude the other? I think your sentence is a little redundant. You could make it more succinct by stating you love gay black boys or black gay boys, but hey, to each his own. And Erica, I've seen you in here before too, I do believe. So it's good to see all y'all. I don't know how you'd want me to pronounce it. Serga Lila. I'm sure it's got some kind of meaning. Mandarin, perhaps? I don't know. How many Christians are in my town? I'm not in a town, like, there's no, this is just county jurisdiction. So, this not being a town, I would have to say your question can't be answered. But the nearest town is like less than 1,000 people, maximum. Probably more like 400. I don't know. And then there's a city, the city, which might have a few thousand. And then of course you got Montgomery, which is like an hour away. Which is not a fun place to be, by the way. Not anymore. It used to be. And more people are moving out here to the country. But if there's nothing shaking in the chat beyond that, I'm going to continue reading from the book of Isaiah because it's a very long book. And as such, I guess, if I'm being honest, it's always intimidated me, and that's why I've yet to endeavor to read it. And by read it, I mean actually read it, not just say the words or read the words, but try to apply them in context. Isaiah 6 goes on to be a very short chapter, which probably means Isaiah 7 is going to be a really long one. Isaiah 6 is Isaiah's vision and call. In the year that King Uzziah, perhaps, died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Now, a train would be like the kings and queens, they had their court. So his train would be, I suppose, the angels. Verse 2 says, above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. So there were these seraphims, which are a type of angel, if you didn't know, with 6 wings, 2 that covers his face, cannot even look at the Lord, the angels. And with twain he covered his feet. Why would an angel cover his feet? Is that out of respect? I mean, we don't walk around barefoot. Well, I am in Alabama. Strike that. A lot of people don't walk around barefoot. Out of respect, they wear shoes. How would you define a fake Christian? Let's focus on the chat here. Because you can't count anything but yourself, really. I mean, I could say one I know of. Now, generally speaking, we don't have anything but Christians as far as houses of worship are concerned. So if you were to ask anybody in my town, except for like a few outliers that are atheists, and probably some that claim, you know, whatever's hip at the time, Buddhist, or, you know, I myself struggled with my religious identity when I was young, so I don't fault young people for, you know, not embracing the religion of their parents. It's natural to rebel against your parents. And I remember fighting with my own father as a teenager, telling him I don't even know what religion I am, and he said, I'll tell you, you're a Baptist, damn it. You know, that's how my father saw it. And I don't consider myself necessarily a Baptist or any denomination. I don't get the denomination stuff. On the other hand, I would claim I'm Protestant in that I'm not Catholic and don't fully subscribe to the way the Catholic Church is structured. I believe it's a great institution historically. It's honorable in that respect, and that it formed a lot of history. But it had a lot of, it was corrupt right from the get-go. I mean, it was used for the sake of power and conquest. So it's far too elaborate and luxurious for me to see it as proper representation of the humility Christians are supposed to demonstrate. But I suppose if you believe the Pope is actually, you know, God's representative on earth, like the infallibility of the Pope, it would be only proper to honor him and respect him, to provide him great living quarters, but not to, and I'm not saying Catholics do, not to worship him. Probably my biggest hang up with the Catholic Church is all the saints, the sainthood, and the almost deification of Mary, Mother of Jesus, um, the Blessed Mother, which is certainly, I mean, a lady to be highly respected and so on. But Jesus himself praised Isaiah, and that's what led me to finally go ahead and read Isaiah. Jesus said there was none better than Isaiah. Like, I can't remember the exact verse, something worth looking up though, I think, because I've got a few minutes before I have to get to work. Let's see, if we just simply Google Jesus Isaiah. Where Jesus reads from Isaiah, quoting Isaiah. I want to find where Jesus says, I see a lot about the Isaiah says about Jesus. And also see Jesus said Isaiah is right. But I realize at this point you're just watching a guy Google randomly. In any case, Jesus had great respect for Isaiah, clearly. Quotes him many times. In particular, Isaiah was right. You are hypocrites, to paraphrase. Mm. Yeah, you have a great point there. All the denominations tend to find fault in the other denominations, and that's why I don't claim to be Baptist, even though I attended a Baptist church and was baptized, and so on and so on. I don't think any of that stuff is necessary. If anything, it's a little vain. Now, I get that the symbology in the public declaration, that's a good thing, is to be public with your faith, to not be shy about your faith. But don't wear it, don't flaunt it, don't lord it over people. If asked, say, I'm Christian, if you're a Christian, if you're a Jew, if you're whatever, be willing to die for your faith. That's kind of the essence of faith, is you value it over your own life without proof, scientific proof. Mm. Reading on, enjoying this actually. Glorious, appreciate it. Now, I may be ignorant, or at least naive. I don't know what the Westboro Church is. And pretty much deifies, I would say. I mean, I see your wording is pretty much every denomination deifies Mary. I think pretty much every denomination pretty much deifies Mary. Just, I mean, we don't worship Mary, at least me as a Protestant Christian. Consider her, it would be blasphemous, in my opinion, to worship Mary, to equate her with God as we do Jesus. He is God. Mary has no place in the Trinity. And I realize even that's controversial from a non-Christian perspective, that you can't have a Trinity if there's only one. But anything can be broken down to any number of parts, I suppose. The Westboro Church, that gives me some food for thought, so to speak. One thing, why have I not heard of it? Or maybe I have and I dismissed it ignorantly. That would be ignorance, for me to dismiss something without understanding it, without giving it an open-minded, objective consideration. Wow. I'm not gonna say, but I get, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking. I didn't know Westboro Church was the polite way to refer to that church. God doesn't hate anybody, and despite their slogan, it's just something I don't care to say, but it basically says that God hates homosexuals. Though I imagine they would probably allow that slur to include all people that are not the what used to be considered normal. What I consider to be the natural order. And that's something that makes Christians, again, it says in the Bible, we're told that Christians will be persecuted, but when they go around preaching stuff like, God hates you because of this, that makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to be persecuted when you're preaching a message of hatred. That's not what Christians are supposed to do. I'm perplexed by that. I mean, we do all kinds of stuff that God doesn't want us to do. yet he forgives us for it, and by accepting Jesus has forgiven even our future sins. I mean, like, we have to try to better ourselves, to know what to believe and know what to do. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to always do it, but we need to know what's right and wrong and know when we fall short, or even if we don't know when, look back and, feel bad for you know, the times where we've fallen short, so to speak. Plenty of things that in my life I would have done differently. But hindsight's 2020. I'd like to be able to find some literature that's not governed by AI and Google and so on. So I don't trust Google. I find it to be a terrible reference tool, uh, or anything powered by AI for that matter. Uh, we used to have these buildings that had books, and I loved to spend hours and hours inside them reading great works of literature, and even the Bible. I'm skeptical of Bible apps, and I do in fact use one, an offline Bible, but even it, you know, who's to say somebody didn't go in and modify something in it? I mean, there is a copy of the King James Bible that substitutes thou shalt instead of thou shalt not on all of the 10 Commandments. I believe they call that the Devil's Bible something. Is either a misprint or, more likely, I think, some scribe or cleric just perverting the word. Because back then, in ancient times, very few people knew how to read. Only the clergy, for that matter, knew how to read. So they were trusted, they were highly respected. The ability to read and write was considered mystical in its own right. Celebrating American soldiers' deaths. I appreciate you bringing to my attention the Westboro Church. I was aware of this faction or this cult or sect or whatever you want to call it, preaching these messages, but I didn't know how to, define them. Westboro Baptist Church. You can't preach a message of God is love and then say God hates, which actually brings me to this own confusion I've had. And I've asked pastors, at least one pastor, does God hate the devil? Because if God is the embodiment of pure love, how can he hate? And I've been given different opinions on this. My pastor says that yes, he does hate Satan. I mean, Satan is just the translation of the word adversary. But we're also taught to love our enemies as Christians. I don't think God hates Satan. I think he pities him and will judge him as he will judge us all. And you're absolutely right. And well, I'm kind of running out of time here, but they're what led me away from attending church, not them specifically, but that sort of Christianity where I didn't feel welcome because of my appearance, because of my history with drugs and alcohol, more specifically drugs, very little alcohol, but and so on and so on. But interpretation, that's why I'm making my own interpretations of the Bible instead of going by what X preacher or pastor says to me. And I've found I can actually get the information, the answers, through my own discernment and prayer. And not only that, just by talking with other people, gaining new points of view that wouldn't have occurred to me. And also reading the Bible out loud and listening to it from my own, hearing the words that I've said, as opposed to the internal dialogue that we all have in our mind. In any case, that's fair. I grew up, believe it or not, being from rural Alabama, raised into the field of information technology and computer science. My father was a graduate from Auburn, field of computer science, mainframe programmer, and ran a software business nationwide, writing code for people when nobody had PCs yet. So this would be the 80s. And as such, I had a very analytical, logical based upbringing. Everything could be boiled down to Boolean, true or false. And Christ did not fall into that Boolean yes or no, provable by ones or zeros. And it took a life-changing experience to open my eyes. And I pray that everybody that holds similar doubts can have that. I don't want people to go through the same kind of crap I went through, which basically shattered every bone in my body. But to have that epiphany, that nudge to take the leap of faith. And I'm going to leave everybody with that. It's time to go to work. Thank you. God bless you all. I appreciate the insight. And you should love everybody, not only black boys and gay boys, but don't have sex with them. Not everybody, and certainly not with boys. God bless y'all. Have a great day.